Japan is often presented as proof that a modern society can be engineered to near perfection. It is wealthy, safe, technologically advanced, and remarkably functional at scale. Trains run on time, cities are clean, institutions are trusted, and public order is strong. If prosperity, stability, and efficiency were enough to produce well-being, Japan should be among the happiest countries in the world. But it isn't. Over the past several decades, reported life satisfaction in Japan has steadily declined, even as material conditions have improved. This decline has not been accompanied by social breakdown or economic collapse. There was no single shock that explains it. Instead, dissatisfaction has grown quietly inside a system that appears to be working exactly as intended. One of the clearest signs of this tension is not visible in economic data or infrastructure statistics, but in behavior. Every year, a significant number of people in Japan deliberately withdraw from their own lives. They leave jobs, cut contact with family, and resettle anonymously elsewhere, not as an act of rebellion but as a form of relief. This phenomenon is widely understood within Japanese society and treated less as an anomaly than as an outcome of sustained pressure. Its existence suggests that the problem is not individual failure, but systemic strain. What makes this especially counterintuitive is the environment in which it occurs. Japan is among the safest countries on Earth, with low crime, high life expectancy, and universal access to healthcare and education. These are the conditions typically associated with high well-being. Yet when Japanese respondents are asked about satisfaction, purpose, or optimism about the future, their answers are often more pessimistic than those of people living in far less secure societies. This forces a deeper question. If improved living standards do not lead to improved lived experience, then what exactly is missing? Explanations that focus solely on work hours or cultural strictness fall short, because they fail to explain why dissatisfaction persists even as labor conditions and social policies gradually improve. The issue appears less related to hardship than to constraint, a sense that life follows a narrow trajectory and that deviating from it carries long-term costs. Over time, this creates a particular psychological environment. Stability becomes indistinguishable from stagnation. Security begins to feel like confinement. Choices feel irreversible, and the future increasingly resembles a continuation of the present rather than a departure from it. In such a system, success does not necessarily produce fulfillment, and endurance becomes more valuable than aspiration. This is the underlying paradox of modern Japan. The country did not fail to modernize. It succeeded so thoroughly that it exposed a limit most societies have not yet reached. Japan shows what happens when a system optimizes relentlessly for order, productivity, and predictability, without leaving sufficient space for change, experimentation, or reinvention. The result is not collapse, but a quieter form of erosion, one that operates beneath the surface of prosperity. Every day. To understand how Japan arrived here, it helps to look at how success was defined in the decades following the Second World War. The country rebuilt itself not through individual expression or entrepreneurial risk, but through coordination, discipline, and institutional trust. Lifetime employment, seniority-based promotion, and tightly interlinked corporations created a social contract that traded personal flexibility for collective security. For a long time, that trade made sense. The economy grew rapidly, inequality remained low, and social cohesion was strong. But systems designed for recovery are not always suited for permanence. As growth slowed in the 1990s, the structures that once protected people began to lock them in place. Lifetime employment became lifetime dependency. Seniority rewarded endurance over innovation. Failure, even minor failure, carried disproportionate stigma because the system offered few off-ramps. Changing direction was not just difficult, it was socially costly. This rigidity filtered into everyday life. Education became less about exploration and more about sorting. Children learned early that small differences in performance could determine long-term outcomes, creating pressure that accumulated year after year. By adulthood, many found themselves on paths they had not actively chosen, but also felt unable to leave. The system continued to function, but for the individuals inside it, time began to feel less like opportunity and more like obligation. Importantly, this pressure did not manifest as open unrest. Japan has low rates of violent crime, political extremism, and public disorder. Instead, stress expressed itself internally. Long working hours were tolerated. Emotional restraint was normalized. Dissatisfaction was managed privately rather than collectively. In this environment, withdrawal became a rational response. Not because life was unbearable in an absolute sense, but because there was no acceptable way to renegotiate its terms. This helps explain why certain uniquely Japanese phenomena emerged. Extreme social isolation, declining marriage rates, collapsing birth rates, and the quiet disappearance of individuals from their own social circles are not separate problems. They are different expressions of the same structural tension. When adaptation is difficult and exit is stigmatized, disengagement becomes the least disruptive option. What makes this especially revealing is that Japan has repeatedly attempted surface-level solutions. Work-hour reforms, childcare subsidies, and mental health initiatives have all been introduced. While these measures address symptoms, they leave the core architecture intact. The underlying expectation, that life should follow a narrow, continuous trajectory with limited tolerance for deviation, remains unchanged. As a result, improvements often feel marginal. People may work slightly fewer hours but still feel unable to pause or reset. They may have more formal support, but still experience informal pressure to conform. The system offers stability, but only on the condition that one remains legible within it. Those who fall outside that framework are not actively punished, but they are quietly unsupported. Japan's experience matters because it is not unique. It is simply early. Many advanced societies are moving in the same direction. High efficiency, aging populations, declining mobility, and institutions that optimize for predictability. Japan shows what happens when these trends converge without corresponding flexibility. The danger is not sudden collapse, but gradual disengagement. A society that continues to function while fewer people feel meaningfully attached to it. In that sense, Japan is less an anomaly than a preview. It reveals a limit to material progress that is rarely acknowledged. Beyond a certain point, additional stability does not increase well-being. Instead, it can reduce tolerance for uncertainty, risk, and change, the very qualities that give life a sense of direction. The question Japan now faces is not how to restore growth or efficiency, but how to reintroduce optionality. How to create space for lives that pause, restart, or diverge without being treated as failures. That problem is far harder than building infrastructure or raising productivity, because it requires loosening control rather than tightening it. And the longer that adjustment is delayed, the more people will continue to respond in the only way the system reliably allows. Not by protesting, not by leaving the country, and not by openly rejecting it, but by quietly stepping out of view.